Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. I'm Anne from the Sussex Handmade Soap Company, and today I'm going to be trying to create a scenery soap with a theme of walking through lavender fields. I'm going to be using extruded soap dough and stencils to create today's design, and it is a little bit more complicated than a lot of the other designs that we have done recently, and for this reason it did take me longer to create this soap, and because of this a lot of the footage you will see in today's video has been sped up, and I've gone with a voiceover over the top, purely because if I didn't do that, the video could easily have run into being an hour long, which would have been incredibly long for a soap video, and I would rather keep the videos a little bit shorter than that. We are beginning with showing you the preparation that went into the soap making today, because there was a lot of preparation that was needed to be done before we could even start building the design and making the soap. So that is where we are going to start with today's design. Let's jump in, show you some soap preparation followed by some soap making. So I'm beginning today's preparation by just colouring my soap dough with some purple mica, and I'm just sprinkling the mica powder onto the soap dough, and then I'm using my hands to carefully work the mica powder into the soap dough, and I'm just kneading it until the whole of the soap dough takes on a nice uniform purple colour. And once I am happy with the purple, I'm moving on to extruding some, what I like to call, lines of lavender spaghetti with my clay extruder tool. And today I'm going to be using 3 different extruder discs. They are all for kind of circles, so they're going to kind of give me lavender spaghetti, as I say I like to call it, but they are 3 different sizes. I have got small ones, medium ones, and large ones. And I've gone with different sizes just to help with the depth perception in my design. And I'm starting with the larger of the discs, so I will get my thickest lavender spaghetti with this one, and I'm just placing the extruder disc into the cap, and then I'm going to fill up my extruder tool with some of that lavender soap dough, or lavender coloured soap dough, that I prepared earlier. And then what I'm going to do is just pop the cap on the end, and then I just need to attach the handle, and then it really is as easy as just twisting the handle in a clockwise direction until the dough starts to come out of the end of the extruder. And you can see I'm getting some nice lavender spaghetti now, just carefully extruding this down. And I'm going to repeat this process a number of times to get lots of large lavender spaghetti. And when I've got it to the length that I am happy with, I am just going to use a palette knife, and I'm just going to use that palette knife to chop off the lavender spaghetti and then I'm going to place it to one side just to dry a little. Now I did repeat this process a number of times, but I'm now moving on to the medium extruder disc. So I've changed sizes now, and I'm just filling up my extruder with some more soap dough. And then I'm going to switch over my disc from the larger one to the medium one that I've got just here. Placing that into the end of the extruder, and then replacing the cap on the end, and then as before I am just going to pop the handle on and extrude out the medium sized lavender spaghetti. And this one does go a little bit wiggly, but it's not an issue. It does look very wiggly down here, but it was easy to straighten out and it worked pretty nicely. And again, as before, I repeated this process, so I got plenty of medium sized lavender spaghetti. But for the purposes of the video, we shall move on to now me using the smallest extruder disc to extrude my smallest size diameter of my lavender spaghetti. So I just need to pop in the smallest extruder disc into the end now. And then I'm just going to tear off a piece of soap dough and work it to a nice size to pop into the extruder, ready for creating my small lavender spaghetti. How many times can one person say lavender spaghetti? Too many times, apparently. Right, so you will notice I'm extruding this slightly differently. I decided that gravity would help here, and I just held the extruder up and turned the handle, and actually I ended up getting some really nice straight soap dough spaghetti here, less wiggly than when I was doing it along the base of the chopping board. So this worked really nicely, and it was then easy to just chop off and place to one side to dry. And I allowed it to dry for about half an hour, and then I chopped it all down to 8 inches. And here you can see just how much I extruded. So there was a lot more than I've actually shown you on the video. I've got the small, the medium and the large lavender soap dough spaghetti strands here. It took quite a while, but I'm hoping it's going to be worth it. So I just left these to firm up, and while they were firming up, I decided that I was going to move on to making my stencil. And here I've got just a piece of cardboard, and the first thing I wanted to do was check that I cut it to the right size and that I was going to be able to use it to scrape down in my mould. So that is what I'm doing here, just testing that it scrapes and it will fit, which it does. So now I want to draw on the design that I'm going to be using. The line that I've already drawn on represents the top of the mould, so I know that that is at the top of my mould. And now I'm going to draw on where I want my sky to be, just to kind of give me a perspective, an idea of what design I'm going for. So firstly I draw on my skyline, and then I want to draw on some paths, and it's a paths that I actually want to be able to create using this stencil. And I want to go for perspective, so I know that my paths need to be narrower at the top and wider at the bottom, because I want to give the illusion of being able to walk through those lavender fields. And that is why I did the 3 different sizes of lavender strands as well. The bigger ones will go at the bottom and the smaller ones will go at the top, and hopefully combined with the design here, it will give the illusion of being able to walk through a lavender field. So that is the design that I am attempting here. Normally I have actually a little picture by me to kind of go by, but today I just did it from kind of memory. So hopefully it will work out okay. So this here is the design that I have created. It is very basic, it is very simple, and I'm just going to now cut it out using a little pair of nail scissors. And this is fairly fiddly, and when we actually sell soaps, like the Pet Level Beach soap that we sell and the Seven Sisters soap that we sell, we actually have our scrapers made out of plastic, and they are reusable because I think it's more hygienic as well. But when I'm just doing a soap to test and play around with, I tend to just initially do it out of cardboard because it's good for one use and then you can chuck it away. But when we sell soaps, we do make reusable scrapers out of plastic. So here we have my very kind of rudimentary stencil that I shall be using in our soap in a moment. So now our preparation is done, let's move on to some soap making. So now we've prepared all of our little lavender flowers and our stencil and everything is ready, we are on to the actual soap making. And to begin with, we are going to make the little pathways that are running between the lavender bushes. And I've decided to do these kind of a sandy yellow colour. I thought about doing them green to represent grass running through the lavender bushes, and then I thought, no, I'll do kind of a yellowy sandy colour just to kind of represent gravel or ground or grit, because I just think that's going to give a little bit more of a colour variation. And we're going to achieve a yellow colour by adding 10 grams of yellow clay to our solid and liquid oils. We have melted down our solid oils now, we have added in our liquid oils, and we are now adding in 10 grams of French yellow clay. And we are just going to use the spatula to combine that into the oil. There is no lye in here yet. We are adding the clay before we are adding the lye today, just because sometimes clays are a little hard to kind of incorporate into oils, so I like to add them as early as possible. And because we are only going with one colour from this portion of soap and it doesn't need to be split between different colours, we can add the clay into the oils now, and then hopefully it will, by the time the batter has been made and come to a trace and everything, it will be really nicely incorporated in. And now we have incorporated the clay, we are just going to add in our lye water and bring this to a trace. I'm actually going to do this off camera today So I've now brought the soap to a medium to thick trace. It needs to be quite thick today because this is the portion that we are going to be using that stencil on, so the quicker it firms up the better. So we are now going to add 10 grams of walnut shell powder into the mix, and that is purely just to create some texture, to give our pathway a bit of definition, you know, just a little bit of interest, and just make it look more like a pathway than a kind of 2D yellow picture. We are also going to add in 20 grams of lavender essential oil. I mean, really, there was no other choice for the scent of this one today, was there? It would have been ridiculous to do a lavender themed soap and then scent it with something like orange, so it was always going to be lavender essential oil we were scenting with. We're going to tip that in now and just use the spatula to fully combine everything together. And now that everything is nicely combined, we are going to bring in our mould, and we need our mould to be about 3/4 of the way full with this batter. And now it is a case of waiting. We need to wait until this batter has firmed up enough for us to actually be able to scrape out the excess. And there is going to be an awful lot of excess today, a lot of leftover batter. I'm just going to pop the leftover batter into a little single cavity mould, and then I will use it myself around the house. So it is not going to be wasted, but it's just not going to be useful in today's design. So it's not going to be wasted soap because we don't like wasted soap. So I've left the soap for only about 5 minutes actually. It is firming up fairly quickly. So I'm now going to go in and try and scrape out our design. I have already anticipated that this is going to be fairly tough to do because it's such a small amount we want left in, and I think there's going to be a fair bit of resistance in the loaf. So it's not going to be easy. So I shall probably pop some music over the top of this because if I'm concentrating, my brain's not going to be engaged in talking as well. So rather than just babble any old nonsense, I shall do this part in silence and give you some music or something to listen to. Right, here goes. Right, so I'm not going to lie, that was one of the hardest things I have had to scrape before, but we have done it. They are not perfect pathways. There are a couple of little dinks on the top, mainly where my fingers accidentally knocked them as I was going along, but I am happy enough with that. That is going to work for what we want. So I've now prepared the batter for our bush green colour that's going with our lavender, and this is a standard batch of batter that I split down 2/3 into this jug and 1/3 into the jug we're going to be using for the sky later on. And I coloured this with 0.4 grams of chromium green oxide and 0.2 grams of yellow iron oxide to give it this pretty kind of lime green sort of colour, which I hope is going to work well with the lavender. And I've obviously scented it with the lavender essential oil as well. I didn't show me doing all of that because, like I say, this video is probably going to be pretty long anyway, so you guys didn't really need to see that part because you see it in all of my other videos. So now we are bringing back in the mould. I'm trying a bit of a different camera angle just so you guys can actually see what's going on here, because my standard camera angle, you probably wouldn't have seen a lot. So hopefully this one works. What we have got now is our largest diameter extrusions of the lavender flowers, and I'm now going to try and carefully place these somehow in the bottom of this mould to create some little lavender flowers. And I'm just dropping them in, and the nice thing is that I'm not going to have to be too precise. And all I'm doing now is building up my design by using the larger lavender extrusions at the base of the soap mould, and then covering them with a little bit of the green soap batter, and then just repeating the process all the way up the mould. I'm using a stick at times where needed, just to make sure that the lavender extrusions are where I want them to be and press nicely into the batter. And I'm also tilting the mould to make sure the green batter does flow down through all of the extrusions. The medium-sized lavender extrusions now going in. And again, just pressing them down and covering with more green soap batter. So this was actually a relatively easy thing to do once I had got all the extrusions pressed down into place with the help of the stick. It was just time consuming. I think it took me, to be honest, 30-40 minutes in real-time speed to get all these in, which is why I have sped it up. But yeah, not too difficult, just time consuming. We're just finishing off with the smaller extrusions now. And there we go. Right, so that is that part done. Now we just need to do the sky. That bit's going to be easy compared to this. So let's bring in the sky batter first. So to colour our sky, I have got 0.1 grams of indigo dye, which I have mixed with a little of the liquid oils that went into this portion. I've only used 0.1 grams because indigo dye is so strong, and I just want a pale blue sky if possible. So I've given our indigo blue sky a little bit of a stick blend just to help that colour incorporate better, and we've got a very pale sort of blue grey sky, so not a perfectly bright sunny day in lavender flowerland, but it's just one of those, I'd probably say it's an overcast sort of sky today, so that's okay. And we are just pouring on now, and we're just going to fill up the rest of the mould now with this sky portion. And that is it until tomorrow. So I'm fairly happy with how that actually worked out in terms of the making. I've got a heck of a lot of cleaning up to do, that's for sure. It looks like a, I don't know, a complete mess. Everything, all my surfaces are covered in mess and jugs and soap dough, so that's going to be fun. But if it works out, it'll all be worth it. Obviously we've got a few little lavender strands sticking up out of there, but again, not bothered about them because tomorrow we can just cut that edge off and it'll be fine. Because we've used some natural colorants here, I do want this soap to gel if possible, so I'm going to pop it into my heated propagator, which works really well for helping my soaps to gel, and I'm going to leave it there overnight, and then we shall come back tomorrow, cut it up and see if it's worked or not. I really hope it's worked. So much effort. If it hasn't worked, I'll be really disappointed. I'm going to cross my fingers now and hope. So here we are, 24 hours later, and it is a moment of truth time for the Lavender Fields. I'm really nervous and excited for this one. I'm so excited to see how it's turned out and whether it's kind of lived up to the image that I had in my head. I really hope it has. Let's take a piece from the middle. So here we have Lavender Fields soap bar. I like it. I am happy with how it has turned out. There are a couple of things I would change, I'm not going to lie. I wish my green was a little bit darker. I think perhaps next time I need to try and darken up the green a bit. The lavender flowers, I like them, but I think perhaps on reflection I should have popped slightly more in so that there was more purple. This is obviously a lavender field at the beginning of spring, when the lavender is just starting to flower but hasn't quite got onto that full-on spectacular purple fields look yet, or at least that's what I'm going to tell myself and anybody else who asks. The pathways have come out quite nicely, I think. I think they do give that perspective, and I do like how we've got the bigger flowers at the bottom and they go up to the smaller ones to give that kind of perception of depth and of walking through the lavender fields. I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. Certainly not a fail. And yeah, a design that if I choose to do again, that I will make a couple of changes to, but on the whole, one that I am pretty happy with how it's turned out today. So overall, I'm really happy with how today's design has turned out. Other than the couple of minor changes that I said I would make if I was ever to remake this soap, other than that, I am really pleased with what I have created. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you have found it interesting. Let us know if you use extrusions or soap dough in your soaps or stencils, and let us know what you create, because it's always nice to see other people's designs as well. If you do enjoy our videos and you enjoy our content, then please do subscribe. That would be ace. Also, give us a like and leave us a comment. And we shall see you on Tuesday for a video concerning allergens in soap making. And we shall see you on Friday for a limited edition soap release. See you then and have a lovely week. Bye for now.